Hello all you whiskey imbibers out there, this is Mark from WhiskyWhistle bringing you whiskey review number 27. Just about Christmas around the corner, and hopefully you're all ready for it. We are here just about, got the tree ready, presents under or around the tree, and about ready to have a very nice time. And since it's Christmas time, I went out and found myself a very special bottle which I'm going to feature today. I did a preview of that a few days ago, if you saw that one. And it's going to get a full review today, so we'll go through that. This is Douglas Laing's Big Peat, which you can see right here in front of me. Anyway, let's get right started with that one. And we'll go through the tasting and the nosing and the tasting, and of course the finish. And then we'll talk a little bit about this great company. Okay. Anyway. Now this is the second time I've purchased a bottle of Big Peat. The last time was a year ago, in fact, together with a friend of mine named Ramy in Winnipeg, and we shared a bottle of that. I think he got most of it, so Ramy, next time I'm in, guess what? You're going to be forking the bill for the next Big Peat. Anyway. This is the Big Peat Christmas 2015 edition, so that's exciting. I'll put this little cap back on there. And, let's just get right into it. So this is a blended malt Scotch whiskey, or quite often referred to as a vatted malt. So there is no other whiskey other than single malts that are included, but from a variety of distilleries. Hence the name blended malt. So that's interesting. And this one happens to be from Islay. So all of the whiskeys that went into this blend come from the Islay distilleries. And let's see, we have Ardbeg, Culleala, Bowmore, and Port Ellen. Port Ellen, which is actually no longer a distillery. It is now a place where they do the maltings for the peated barleys, especially peated malt. So that's some special, very old, very special Islay single malt Scotch whiskey that has gone into this, which is quite nice. And according to Mr. Fred Laing, from the Douglas Laing and Company independent bottlers, there are some, let's say, some secret ingredients that go into this. Secret malt ingredients. So interestingly, you'll never be able to fully recreate what goes in this. But anyway, you sure can enjoy it, because it is readily available pretty much worldwide. Now, it's 53.8%. which is quite high, and apparently they make it so for the Christmas edition to help keep you warm in the winter. So hopefully that works. And it's also unchill filtered. So it's in its most natural state, and as you can see by the color, it's a very light straw shade. It's natural, but it looks like just a shade or two above the color of water. So there you go, and it's beautiful in its own right, and I surely enjoy this one. One cool thing that you'll notice when you pour a glass of this one is you're going to get some real heavy beating on the rim of the glass after you let the legs go down. You'll be left with a nice bit of a beating effect on the glass there. And I don't know if you can see that forming there at the edge where the legs have started to drip down, but you'll be left with beating all the way around the glass. And this seems to be something that especially the unchill filtered whiskeys do in your glass, due to the fatty acids and proteins that are still left. So there you go. So you see all those wonderful little beads that are left on the side of the glass, which if you didn't know, you'd be wondering why it does that. But if you're made aware that this is what natural whiskey looks like, I think everybody would be thrilled to notice that interesting effect that happens on the glass. Anyway, let's get right into the nosing, which we did a little bit of in the preview, but let's just go through that step by step now. Now, as soon as you pour this, you're gonna fill the room with a peaty, smoky character. So I can smell that even from here. And one thing that I find is really interesting with this particular single malt, this particular vatted malt, Big Peat, there's a smoked, sort of a smoked fish, a smoked salmon note that comes through in the nose, which I quite like. A salty smoked salmon. And I've written here a light saltiness, a little bit ashy, some cedar, fresh cut cedar notes. So they've used some very good casks to make this whiskey. And something from my childhood, oil and tar roads. So not really asphalt, but my grandmother, she lived outside of town, and they didn't have actual hard paved roads. So they would just take some kind of oil and tar and rock and sand and go over it a few times with a steamroller, and there you go. It wasn't quite asphalt, but it had a particular smell, especially after they laid that down. And I also find, I really noticed that Ardbeg really comes through here in Big Peat. So it looks like Big Peat is an Ardbeg fan. Okay, well, let's taste that. Merry Christmas, everyone. This may be my last review before Christmas. Might not be, but we'll see how time goes. Hopefully you can find yourself a bottle of this. I think it's really worth it. It has 34.5% more whiskey in it than the regular 40%. It's a fantastic blend of Islay single malts to make this vatted malt. And, well, it's a Christmas edition. So that's great that they actually make one and declare it as being a Christmas edition. So, Merry Christmas. Well, it starts sweet and sour, and then as time passes, you get a little bit of bitterness and some astringency, some dryness coming through. It is oily in the mouth, the mouth texture, fresh herbs, some tobacco, some mint, and well, for 53.8% ABV, it is quite smooth. Very drinkable at full strength. So you can try that neat. Just take a little less than you normally would. We'll have one more little taste and talk about the finish. Happy Christmas to all the Brits watching. This is also a very fresh whiskey. I don't know what it is that makes it have that kind of a fresh flavor. Sorry, I can't say fresh flavor. That's a tongue twister. But anyway, it's quite fresh, and I think you'll find that as well. Anyway, the finish, there's a sweet smoke, of course, and something like Old Port cigarillos. I'm not sure if that's available still. In North America, it seems like the flavored tobacco has sort of been pretty much discontinued. So Old Port cigarillos, and again, a little bit of ash and still some smoked fish coming through as well. And right from the nose all the way to the finish, of course, you've got that gentle peat, strong peat in the nose, fairly moderate in the taste, and then a rather gentle peatiness in the finish. and that continues and continues and continues. So quite nice. Now we're going to add a little bit of water to this one. I've got looks like about 20 milliliters, and I think I can easily add 2 of these. 1, 2. So that's taking it up to right about 30 milliliters and reducing the ABV quite a bit, probably down to right around 40, a little bit less. Roll that around the glass a little bit. The first time I saw Big Peat was in Winnipeg, as I mentioned, and well, it was on sale there. So we got it at a really great price. I think it was maybe, I don't know, $50 Canadian, maybe 55, something like that, 60. And both Remy and I are really big Islay whiskey fans. He really loves Lagavulin. I really like Ardbeg, but both of us are really thrilled with this this whiskey. So to Douglas Laing and Company and Fred Lang, thank you very much for creating this very unique vatted malt. I think you've got a lot of followers out there. So once again, best of the holidays to everybody out there. Oh, I forgot the nose, didn't I? I find with water you get a lot more lemon scents coming through, and a little less peat. And of course that the smoked salmon note is still there as well. Okay, on to the taste. Now there's a little bit less sourness, more of a sweety, salty kind of a flavor. Oddly enough, a smoked cheese note I'm noticing, and a chocolate orange. What's that brand? I forget the brand. It actually looks like an orange, the dark chocolate one. Anyway, chocolate orange, and it's still very fresh. And the finish, one more time. I find you get a lot more interesting notes in the finish with water. It's very savory. Bay leaf and coriander I've written here. Still sweet, and of course the peat is, again, it's going to continue and continue probably until you eat something else or until you perhaps brush your teeth. And if you really go a long time with Big Peat, the Christmas 2015 edition, and be a little bit generous with the water, I find that you can break it down and get some vanilla and some salted caramel notes as well, both in the taste and in the finish. So give that a try yourself. I think we don't have enough time to wait for that here on air. So we'll leave it there. Now then, for a score, well, I'm really pumped about this whiskey. I was so thrilled I found it here in Korea. In fact, at Namdaemun Market. At the malt shop, they had the older Christmas version. I nearly picked that up. Maybe I should have. Maybe I will. But I walked through Namdaemun. There it was, the only bottle. I simply had to pick that up, and I'm really glad that I did. So let me know if you have tried this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And well, again, the score for Douglas Laing's Big Peat Christmas Edition 2015 will be 88 out of 100, and that's the WhiskyWhistle score from Mark, and that's me. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this little video. If you did, I'd love it if you would subscribe, and of course make a comment, leave some comments for me. make a suggestion as to something that you'd like to see in the future. I'm open to other whiskeys. I'm open to other spirits. I'm planning on doing a brandy, a nice brandy that I have that I'd like to review, and a cognac. And if you go back to 20.1, review number 20.1, you'll see some other lists of upcoming whiskeys, which will still be up and coming. This one, of course, had to jump the line because, well, Christmas is just 2 days away. Okay, anyway, thank you for tuning in. I hope you'll be back next time. Cheers, everyone, and have a Merry Christmas.